Welcome to the course, Environmental Impact Assessment. In the previous session, we saw how human activities have generated emissions and altered the air around us. Today, we will look at the status of oceans and coasts. We will follow Chapter 7 of the Global Environment Outlook 6 by United Nations Environment Programme. So accordingly, our coverage will include extent of problems in oceans and coasts. We will look at the significance of oceans and coasts on human life and look at this from an Indian context as well. We'll understand the concept of healthy ocean. Moreover, we will talk about the challenges for sustainable use and management of marine and coastal ecosystems, plus issues that focus on tropical coral reef, fishing, debris, sand mining, deep sea mining, and ocean noise. So the expected learning outcomes from you after completion of this session include: you should be able to review the extent of problems in oceans and coast. You should be able to synthesize the significance of ocean and coast in human life, and you should be able to also see it from the Indian context. You should be able to define the concept of healthy ocean. You should be able to review the challenges of sustainable use and management of marine and coastal ecosystems. You should be able to discuss various issues related with tropical coral reef, fishing, debris, sand mining, deep sea mining, and ocean noise. And most importantly, you should review all these and understand contextual perspective of environmental impact assessment as we proceed. So we are learning this at the background of EIA, so you should be reflecting on it. As we know, our activities are also influencing the health of world's oceans. We will first look at the extent. We observe that as per the Global Environment Outlook report, more than 80% of marine pollution comes from our land-based activities. We see that there is a rapid change in entire marine ecosystems. There are frequent coral bleachings and notable sea level rise. We also note that global warming is causing changes in ocean chemistry and many oceanic processes, and it is threatening many species of marine animals that cannot cope with higher temperatures. Furthermore, excessive fishing is a serious problem in many parts of the world. The rise of sea levels caused by global warming is growing concern for our coastal population. For example, many pesticides and nutrients used in agriculture eventually reach the coastal waters, which cause oxygen depletion that kills marine plants and shellfish. Moreover, we see that factories and industrial plants discharge sewage and other runoffs into the oceans. We also know about oil spills that pollute oceans. We also know about air pollution. Air pollution is said to be responsible for almost 1/3 of the toxic contaminants and nutrients that enter coastal areas and oceans. Moreover, invasive species such as poisonous algae, cholera, and countless plants and animals have entered harbors and disrupted the ecological balance. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, we see that it estimates that 31.4% of fish stocks are either fished to the capacity, to the maximum capacity, or overfished. Let us now look at the geographical extent of the problem. The world's ocean comprise more than 70% of Earth's surface. And as per the report, more than 1.9 billion people lived in coastal areas in 2010, and we see that the number is expected to reach 2.4 billion by 2050. So 2.4 billion people will be affected by the change we are talking about. That is a huge number we are looking at. In these areas, 20 of the 30 megacities are located on the coast. So you see the number here. And these megacities are expected to increase in population faster than non-urban areas. So here even the increase will also happen faster. The three fastest growing coastal megacities, as we see the example, include Lagos in Nigeria, Guangzhou in China, and Dhaka in Bangladesh. So think deeply about the risks involved in these changes that our activities are causing. And now let us see why the oceans are important to us. In the report, it is narrated that the health and livelihoods of many people are directly linked to the ocean through its resources. So when we look at the resources such as seafood and the important aesthetics, cultural and religious benefits it provides. Seafood provides at least 20% of animal protein supply for 3.1 billion people globally, as per the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. The income we generate from the tourism industry is because of these benefits which we see. And as the report suggests, it has severe consequences for the economically disadvantaged coastal areas and communities, because such areas will be more vulnerable to these changes and losses. Coastal ecosystems also provide numerous environmental benefits such as coastal stabilization, regulation of coastal water quality and quantity. We also see biodiversity and spawning habitats for many important species happen here. The ocean is an integral part of the global climate system. As per the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the ocean contributes to the transportation of heat, which influences temperature and rainfall across the planet. The report also provides evidences that about 50% of the primary global production occurs in the ocean. We get economically important resources such as aggregates, sand, renewable energy, and biopharmaceuticals from these resources. However, it's important to see that because of human activities and the drivers which we had discussed before, the health of marine and coastal ecosystem is deteriorating. The pollution, climate change, overfishing, and loss of habitat and biodiversity are costing the health of marine and coastal ecosystems. This eventually affects us, the people. It affects our livelihoods and many indirect benefits that ocean gives to us. If we consider India, now we look at India, Mani Juneja in 2021 wrote for TERI that India has a vast ocean of economic opportunity with more than 7,500 kilometer long coastline. And we see that 95% of transportation needs of businesses are met by these water-based economy. And this water-based economy contributes around 4% to GDP. India is also the third largest fish producing and second largest aquaculture fish producing country in the world. Country has potential to engage a large workforce and have been doing so from the past many decades, at least in the sectors such as we see in fishing, aquaculture, fish processing, marine tourism, shipping and port activities. Now engagements, we see further engagement in new sectors such as offshore wind, marine biology, biotechnology and other activities like shipbuilding and shipbreaking is also rising extensively. So all these activities are coming up. The fisheries sector alone provides livelihood to about 16 million fisher folks. So you see the range of employment it generates, and fish farmers at the primary level and almost twice the number along the value chain. The shipping sector is also one of the key livelihood providers in the water-based blue economy. As India has one of the largest merchant shipping fleets among the developing countries, we also see the number of Indian seafarers who are employed on Indian and foreign flag vessels crossed over 2 lakhs in 2018, and it shows the unprecedented increase of 35% over previous year. We also see seaports are also a large source of employment, and unlike India's major ports, jobs in smaller ports have increased over the years. In the past 5 years, smaller ports have edged out the major ports in growth of cargo volumes as well, so they are increasing drastically. We further see marine tourism is also a sector that has been one of the fastest growing globally and in India, particularly in the coastal states like Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Coastal tourism has contributed largely to both the state's economies and livelihood. For example, we can see in Kerala the total number of jobs created directly and indirectly by the sector between 2009 and 2012 in this period was around 23% of the total employment. That's a huge proportion we are looking at. So, review of these facts as per the Terry writing shows our dependency on the oceans and coast, and at the same time the environmental risk we face as a nation. Now let us see what does a healthy ocean means to us conceptually. As provided by UNEP, by definition, a healthy ocean is one which the basic ecosystem, functions and structure are intact, integral. Thereby, basic ecosystem is able to support livelihoods and contribute to human well-being. The ecosystem is resilient to current and future changes. It is important that marine and coastal ecosystems are functioning and used within their environmental limits. They should be used in a way that no severe or irreversible harm is done to the system. Such careful utilization will allow us to continue to take full benefit of the ecosystem. However, despite this, we see there are challenges to sustainably use and manage the marine and coastal ecosystems. We see that, as per the report, there are competing pressures on natural resources. There are many users of the resources. There are complexities of governance. The marine and the coastal ecosystems do not follow any governance boundaries, and coastal states have rights and obligations within their marine jurisdiction. So let's begin to understand the complexity. As explained in the report, we see that the ocean currents can carry chemicals, waste, emerging organic pollutants, pathogens beyond areas under national maritime boundaries. So your area can be influenced by the activities of the others over whom you have no control. And marine organisms and seabirds which you see may not remain under the jurisdiction of a state or the boundaries defined by you. These interlinkages between ocean conditions and marine life and the spatially dynamic ocean processes mean that the activities of any single industrial sector may have far-reaching impact. So, anything which is done in one industry can be impacting somewhere else, people located in some other place. So, you see the complexity of the problem and its impact at different places. And such patterns disrupt the livelihoods of people who receive no benefits from the industry that has caused the impact. So, they just become the victims of the functioning of others. We also see that there are multiple and often conflicting uses. As we can see in the image here, the central circle represents major high-level drivers of change in human demands on the ocean, such as, and as discussed before also, we have discussed this before also, population growth, urbanization, economic development, technology and innovation, and climate change. These drivers create societal needs indicated in the inner ring, such as need for food, construction, transportation, energy, recreation. And in the outer ring, we see the industry sector, which addresses to these societal needs. These industries addresses our needs, and often we'll see through all this EIA and discourse, we need to regulate them to protect the ecosystem through policies. So we can see how we have multiple and conflicting uses. Then we also have global problems like climate change and ocean acidification, which needs to be addressed. Climate change impacts ocean temperature, sea ice, extent and thickness, salinity, sea level rise, and extreme weather events. Ocean have many uses, and there are too many linkages among marine ecosystems and between the land and adjacent seas. We may also reflect that there are numerous industries dependent on the oceanic and coastal resources with very high economic value and generating increased employment with major environmental impacts. We see sectors such as fishing, shipping, port, offshore hydrocarbon industries, other marine-based industries, marine-based mining, marine-based tourism. So all these you can see, and then the impact range from changes of the food web structure and function. We also see that bycatches happens of the non-targeted species during the fishing, gear impacts on the seabed habitats, and benthos, which means the flora and fauna found on the bottom or in the bottom sediments of a sea or a lake, which are especially structurally fragile habitats. So even they get impacted by this. Shipping disaster and accidents also happen. We also see chronic and episodic release of fuel and other hydrocarbons. We see discharge of sewage, waste and grey water. We also see transmission of invasive species. So there are very invasive species which get transmitted to other locations because of this. We also see noise from ships, maritime transport responsible. We see that maritime transport is responsible for about 3% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Furthermore, we see concentration of shipping and its potential environmental impacts. There are frequent need for dredging and access to deep water passages. We also see impacts on seabed and coastal from the construction of infrastructure. So you saw a range of impact which happens. Now we will look at some of the upcoming issues. So what are the issues? We'll only focus on the limited ones. So we'll look at tropical coral reefs, the fishing issue. We'll also look at the debris entering the marine environment, that is the marine litter. We will also look at few emerging topics such as mercury, sand mining, deep sea mining and ocean noise. The UNEP report states with the well-established fact that the tropical coral reefs have passed a tipping point whereby chronic bleaching has killed many reefs that are unlikely to recover even over century-long time scale. Let's try to understand what is tipping point means. The tipping point means from where we cannot resume. We lose the balance and we cannot get back to normal. Things are out of control. The coral bleaching observed is due to the warming of the oceans, which is because of anthropogenic emissions of greenhouse gases, which we have already seen before. And these emissions are happening since the Industrial Revolution. Here, looking at the significance of the tropical coral reefs, they are the important biodiverse ecosystem on Earth. As per the study, we see that tropical coral reefs display approximately 30% of all marine biodiversity. As per the report, the Coral Triangle region. So we are looking at the Coral Triangle region, which includes Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Timor-Leste, Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands is the area of greatest biodiversity. The Coral Triangle, which we are looking at, hosts more than 550 species of hard corals. Due to multiple human pressure in this particular area, including pollution, fishing, and coral bleaching, the current state of reef health is very poor at many sites here. Let us try to understand coral bleaching. So what is that? Coral bleaching occurs when corals are stressed by changes in conditions such as temperature, light, and nutrients. These changes cause them to expel symbiotic algae which rest over it, living in their tissues. Once the symbiotic algae is expelled, the coral looks like white skeletons. So that's called coral bleaching. As you can see in the image here, it is important to note that why we are saying it has reached a tipping point. Although the study is incomplete and ongoing, as per the study, the frequency of large-scale coral reef bleaching events, which happens because of the change in ocean surface temperature, have increased over the last 2 decades. The recurrence interval between coral bleaching events is now about 6 years, whereas the reef recovery rates are known to exceed 10 years, which means that as the cycle of bleaching is shorter, we are looking at the 6 years, than the recovery, which is 10 years. The difference in the cycles will not allow sufficient time for reefs to recover between the bleaching events. Therefore, it is expected that in times to come, there will be a steadily downward spiral in the reef health. The scientific evidences, however inconclusive right now, indicate that the reef death will lead to loss in fisheries, tourism, livelihoods, and habitats. Depletion of coral reef ecosystem will cause loss of industries and employment dependent on them. According to the reports, 2015 Northern Hemisphere and 2016 Southern Hemisphere summers were the hottest ever recorded. This caused the worst coral bleaching on record. The United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration declared 2015 as the beginning of the third global coral bleaching event, following similar events in 1998 and 2010. The report indicates that the third event is still ongoing, so we are still experiencing the loss. This third event is longest and most damaging recorded thus far. This event till date has affected 70% of world's reef, and some areas are experiencing annual bleaching. In the map, you can see the maximum heat stress during 2014 and 17. It's still continuing in 2021. The dark brown zones, which you can see in the map, is the alert level 2, which indicates widespread coral bleaching due to heat stress and significant mortality levels. Level 1, heat stress shown in red, indicates significant coral bleaching. You may see other warning areas marked in mustard and yellow color here. You may try to identify India and the coastal regions and its associated alert levels. The report quotes from the initial study from Vernon in 2009, which predicts that coral reef bleaching tipping point would occur once global atmospheric carbon dioxide reaches 350 ppm. This value was reached in about 1988, so we had reached that value then, but as indicated by studies, because ocean warming lags behind global atmospheric CO2 levels, it has taken almost 30 years for impact of this level of CO2 to show up. The given explanation for lag effect is that global ocean circulation is slower compared to the rapid rate of rising CO2 levels. So, the ocean gets warmer later. Because of this, the ocean is currently responding to CO2 levels of decades ago and subsequent accumulation, which gathered later. The evidence indicates that the tipping point for coral bleaching has now been passed. We are already late. The report states that global atmospheric CO2 levels are now in excess of 400 ppm. Therefore, there are serious implications for the very survival of coral reefs. Now, let us look at the social and economic impacts of these changes. According to the study conducted in 2016, 275 million people in 79 countries depended on reef-associated fisheries as their major source of animal protein. So today there is an issue of food security. The degradation of coral reef has eroded their values, which has adversely affected the dependent communities. With the death of coral, there will be loss of reefs gradually. The danger of the death of reefs is that shorelines will become vulnerable to storms and rising sea levels because the reefs will be submerged because of this degradation which is happening. So, dead corals will have reduced tourism value because of the lost beauty and will also contain less biodiverse species of fish. All this cumulatively threaten the livelihood of local communities. Living coral reefs are also said to be important religious symbols for some. So, we see how this loss is going to impact us socially and economically. So, moving on, now let us look at the fisheries. The ocean is an increasingly important source of food. As per the report, fish provides more than 20% of dietary protein to over 3.1 billion people. Particularly in coastal areas, food security concerns are increasing. Nutritional value of fish is challenging to replace in areas where availability of fish is declining. In order to meet future challenges of food security and healthy population, expansion of fisheries and aquaculture are inevitable. So, because we have to meet the food needs of so many people that we have to expand fisheries and also look into the aquaculture. The changes which happens in the ocean are due to the following reason. Number one, we see that it's because of the natural variation. Number two, the climate change. Number three, and the most important, by us, we remove the resources from the ocean, mostly by harvesting of fish and the other marine organisms for our consumption and for the industrial uses. We also see the capture production, the fishing which we do, which is a natural fishing, has been stable around 90 million tons for over 15 years. However, we see increase in the production from aquaculture facilities as seen in the graph here. Although the captive fisheries plateaued, so it has become stable for quite some time. In the early 2000s, mariculture continues to expand, and if current trends, it is said that if current trends continued, will soon surpass them. Large-scale mariculture of market-oriented, high-value fish and shellfish such as tuna, salmons and so on now contribute significantly to the economies of most coastal developed countries. And we also see small-scale mariculture is also expanding through less developed countries and economies which are in transition. Moving on, we also find the mercury in the marine environment. Mercury is top 10 chemicals of major public health as per the World Health Organization. Mercury, especially in form of methyl mercury, is a powerful neurotoxin which even at a low concentration can affect fatal and childhood development and cause neurological damage. Despite the associated health benefits of eating fish due to high methyl mercury levels in some seafoods and risk uncertainty, I think there are a lot of advisories which have been given for especially for the pregnant women in many of the countries. In the image, you can see the process through which mercury enters the food chain. Mercury sticks to the algae in the surface water, which eventually sinks and is eaten by microbes. And in the process, it becomes methyl mercury, which is toxic. Methyl mercury is passed along the food chain through the process known as biomagnification. In the process, the toxin passes from small fish to large fish and its concentration increases. Organism can accumulate high concentration of mercury over time. The process is known as bioaccumulation. Bioaccumulation happens when organisms consume mercury at a higher rate than the removal rate. As per the report, the population depends on marine organisms for nutrition may be vulnerable to high exposure to methyl mercury and persistent organic pollutants. And especially we may pay attention that these risks are highest in areas of considerable food insecurity. Moreover, climate change may also aggravate emissions of mercury from long-term storage in the frozen peatlands of the northern hemisphere. This has potential to increase the input of mercury into oceans. Now, let us look at the impact of fishing on marine ecosystems. Major impacts include, number one, we see alteration of food webs. Number two, we see mariculture impacts. Mariculture is the cultivation of fish or other marine life for food, has also substantially impact on marine ecosystem. The studies show that impact of these effects are growing. Conversion of mangroves for mariculture has resulted in widespread habitat loss. These losses have far-reaching implications for dependent species. Loss of species happens because of the dense culture facilities, use of antibiotics and other medications to prevent disease in these kinds of facilities. Also, the excessive feed which sink through the cages accumulate on the seafloor and decompose and reduce oxygen levels in the water. So, all this is causing impact. Now, moving on, let us look at marine litter. We see that the amount of marine litter, which is the waste, it continues to increase. It is estimated that 8 million tons of plastic enters the ocean each year, mainly because of the mismanagement of domestic waste in the coastal areas. As per the established ongoing studies, marine litter has been found at all ocean depths. The report suggests that without intervention, the quantity of plastic in the ocean is expected to increase, and the number is going to increase to 100 to 250 million tons by 2025. In the image, you can see that the global plastic input in the ocean based on human activities and watershed characteristics, you can see various plastic sources. Circle shown in the yellow is from the fishing intensity, brown circle from the coastal input, blue circle the impervious surface and watershed, and gray circle due to shipping. The studies indicate that marine litter are related to the efficiency of solid waste management, how well we manage our solid waste and wastewater treatments. It is generally accepted that a large proportion of plastic enters the ocean originates on land. So, that is important for us to note. It makes its way into the marine environment via storm water runoff, river, or is directly discharged into the coastal waters. Uncollected waste is thought to be the major source, and we also see that poorly operated dump sites also contribute to this particular problem. We also see that the greatest accumulation of marine litter is in the coastal environments. Plastics is distributed worldwide in ocean with increased accumulation in the convergence zones of each of the 5 subtropical gyres. Plastic pollution has been recognized for decades as a threat to marine biodiversity. One of the most visible impacts is the death or the injury of marine life from entanglement and with old fishing gears, plastic packaging and so on. And recent reviews have found that a growing number of turtles, marine mammals and seabirds are endangered or killed by floating litter. In the image, you can see the plastic current. The study also highlights the concerns of chemicals found in oceans. The economic and social cost of marine litter include indirect effects such as interfering with small-scale fishing opportunities, tourism and recreation. Some direct economic costs include cost of beach cleanup and accidents related to navigation hazards. Now, let us look at a few other emerging issues for oceans. We look at coastal sand mining. Around the globe, coastal and near-shore areas are being mined for construction, sand and gravel. These are non-renewable resources, and these are one of the second most used natural resource in our planet after water. So, we see that these mining is constantly being done. And if it is an illegal and poorly regulated sand mining on beaches is causing major damage to ecosystems and landscape. We see that deep sea mining exploration has been initiated to search for more oceanic resources. We also see it is, however, not well established, but we see that even this has impact, like it impacts the benthic communities, the bottommost seabed, impact on the benthos due to mobilization, transport and redeposition of sediments, impact in the water columns because of mining vessels. So these all impacts are happening. And we see that a seabed disturbance experiment which was done in Peru Basin found very little recovery of benthic fauna 26 years after mimicking mining operations. So you see how long it takes for recovery. We see that's lack of knowledge and understanding. However, it's a time for us to be very cautious how we start in this particular industry. We also see the cases of anthropogenic ocean noise. This is another concern raised in the report. The potential impact of anthropogenic acoustic noise on the marine life. The noise generated by a range of activities include shipping, seismic surveys, military operation, wind farms, channel dredgings and aggregate extraction. So we see that there is increasing concern about the long-term and cumulative effects of noise on marine biodiversity. Therefore, the oceans are impacted by numerous human activities, and the most serious impact are related to climate change, land-based pollutions and fishing. The impact of climate change as assessed by UNEP indicates several issues such as ocean acidification, sea level rise, changes to the bottom water, the disturbance of many fish and invertebrate species and ocean circulation. The most dramatic and immediate impact of climate change on the ocean in recent year is bleaching, which we had already discussed, explained in detail. And we also looked at the pollution from plastic in particular. And we also looked at the fishery sector. There are concerns of overfishing, climate change impact on species distribution pattern, and the rise of aquaculture. So to summarize today's session, we reviewed the extent of problems in oceans and coasts, saw the significance of oceans and coast in human life. We defined the concept of a healthy ocean. We reviewed the challenges of sustainable use and management of marine and coastal ecosystem. We discussed various problems related to tropical coral reef, fishing, debris, sand mining, deep sea mining, and ocean noise. It is important that we all reflect upon the need, intensity, and complexity of the EIA, which we're going to explore. These were the references used for this particular session. Our coverage has been limited as per the scope of the subject. Additional resources to read and watch are provided to you. Please feel free to ask questions. Let us know about any concerns you have. Do share your opinions, experiences, suggestions. Looking forward to interacting and co-learning with you in our discourse of EIA. Thank you.